All right. How we doing, buddy?
I'm good, John. It's been a hell of a day for me.
Yeah? You
Yep,
want to
living
talk
it.
about it?
Yeah, sure, why not? Woke up this morning and there was snow on the ground, and then it continued to just snow and snow and snow and snow until about noon this afternoon.
Well, that is Iowa for you.
Yeah, yeah, 4 inches of snow.
Oh my. Oh my. Yeah, no, all we
Thankfully,
have up here is wind, or down here is
yeah,
wind.
yeah, I was gonna say Topeka, Kansas,
Topeka,
a
Kansas.
little bit further south than Des Moines.
Just a little bit. A couple
Yeah,
hours.
yeah, but thankfully I didn't have to shovel the driveway because it all melted. But
Well, that's good. That's really good.
yeah,
I was
so
thinking about that myself real quick here. Maybe this past weekend, I was like, man, when it snows for the first time since I was like a kid, I'm gonna actually have to go out and like shovel my driveway.
oh
Um,
yeah, because you've been living in apartments up until now.
yeah, I've either been living in collegiate housing or an apartment building where snow never bothered me because I didn't have to deal with it.
You don't have to
But
take care of that.
now I kind of do. So
You
I
know
don't
what's
even have a shovel yet.
what's ironic is when I lived in the apartments downtown, and I was working at Hy-Vee, the Market Grill below me, I ended
Yeah,
up actually having to shovel the sidewalk one day.
that's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, good
That
times.
is hilarious.
But yeah,
Well,
let's jump
why don't
into it,
we? Yeah, I was
right?
like transition to why people are here.
Movies. Apparently,
Movies,
we're
movies,
we're
and
reviewing
movies
movies.
for now. So yeah,
And
so this. Oh,
go ahead,
go ahead.
Disturbia.
Okay, yeah,
Your
no,
pick,
this
right?
week's movie is Disturbia. This was my pick. I have a history with this movie, and
Oh,
I thought it would be one that hopefully, I guess we'll find out. Hopefully, you would enjoy and would be enough of a trend towards my favorite genre ever, horror, without making it too terrifying for you,
hmm,
as we slowly work you into that.
hmm.
And it's just, I thought, a very interesting film. So I thought it would be a really good one to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to get maybe before we jump into your backstory a little bit for those in the audience that have never heard of Disturbia, starring Shia LaBeouf. The plot of this movie is a troubled by the sudden death of his father, teenager Cale, as in Cale Brecht. Shia LaBeouf attacks his teacher, who invokes his father while reprimanding him at school. For the assault, Cale is sentenced by a sympathetic judge to 3 months under house arrest with an ankle monitor and a proximity sensor. And eventually he starts to stalk his neighbors because he runs out of things to do.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. He's not stalking his neighbors.
Oh,
He's observing them
okay.
with heavy intent.
So stalking.
No, he can't be stalking them because a stalker follows people.
Oh,
He
okay.
is definitely not following anyone. So
That's true. He's just following them across their lawn until they're out of view.
until they're out of view.
Yeah, but no, that's pretty. And then he eventually starts to realize that one of his neighbors is up to no good.
Up to no good. Yeah, that's
Little
one way to
Scooby
put
Doo
it.
reference there.
That's one way to put it. Fun fact about Shia LaBeouf and this movie.
Mm.
Did you know that he actually, so in preparation for the role, he actually went and just spent a ton of time with house arrest detainees
Really?
because he wanted to, like, he interviewed them and just kind of hung out because he wanted to, like, know, what they were thinking and what they were going through as they would, like, sit there and just be
What it was
bored out of their
like?
minds. And so that's actually, he said he actually got the inspiration for the Twinkie Tower that he builds from one of those detainees that I
That
guess he had, like,
was,
started building a tower out of something else.
yeah, that was ridiculous. Watching him build a tower with Elmer's glue and Twinkies. Obviously, still in the wrapper, right?
Right.
For those of you who haven't seen the movie, he's just on like let's just say a pizza tray. I have no idea what it was on, but he just started stacking those and gluing them together. And I'm thinking to
Hey,
myself, that glue is going to take forever to dry. But,
gotta do something to fill the time. So
yeah. Well, and there was a gosh, I forget the line, but there was a funny quote that his friend, well, he says to his friend later on, or yeah, later on in the movie when he comes and like, what have you been doing with all your time? And he's like, well, this is just what, had to come from the boredom.
Right. Something like that.
Yeah.
This movie is full of great lines too. Like
Yes.
one-line snippets and stuff. Like,
Yes.
very good at this. Let's circle back though, because we kind of gave the synopsis, right? Let's go ahead and kind of talk about the cast a little bit here, because I also adore this cast. This is such a like fascinatingly well put together cast for a movie like this to have.
Really? Well,
Yes.
tell me more about that, because coming into it, I'm like, I know Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
I have to be kind of living under a rock for the past 15 years if you don't know who Shia LaBeouf is.
Fair.
Right. I knew who Aaron Yo, hopefully I pronounced his name right, who plays Ronald Chu, or Ronnie, his friend. And that's the extent of the cast that I know. And I know Aaron from another one of my favorite movies, 21.
Yes, no, Aaron Yu is from 21.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of people that you missed in there.
Oh yeah, there's a whole, yeah, right.
A couple of like key figures. But first, Aaron Yu, no, I love that guy. Ironically, from two horror sort of genre movies. This one, and I know him from 21, but I love him. He plays a very similar role to Ronald in this movie. But he is in the 2009 Friday the 13th remake as Chewie. And
Chewbacca?
He plays a pretty similar role. No, very different. Plays a pretty similar role to what he does in this movie, just kind of cranked up a little bit further. And he is just fantastic in that role.
Oh yeah, crazy friend in that character too.
Yeah, absolutely. So Aaron Yu's great. Shia LaBeouf, fantastic. Carrie Ann Moses, his mom, she is like incredibly famously well known for being Trinity from the Matrix trilogy. She's Neo's girl from the Matrix. Yeah.
Okay. Fun fact, I just recently, probably this year, watched the Matrix trilogy.
I almost think that makes it worse than that you didn't recognize her. Because it's
fair.
been like,
That's
I don't
fair.
know, maybe 10 years since I've watched the Matrix trilogy, but I immediately was like, oh, that's Trinity.
I mean, I watched it. I wasn't like into it.
She's one of the most main characters in all three movies. God, you suck.
I'm just there for Keanu Reeves, man.
We're just gonna move past this disaster that you are right now.
We can talk about it.
Have some respect. Viola Davis. Viola Davis is awesome. How do you not know Viola? She's the
what else is she in?
She's the house arrest administrator. Oh my God, what is she not in? She's in like The Help. She's in Suicide Squad. She's in The Suicide Squad. She's in Eat, Pray, Love.
Okay, so
Viola Davis is everywhere.
Right.
She's fantastic.
And she has a pretty minor role in this movie, as Detective Parker, kind of the parole officer,
house arrest lady, yeah.
Yeah. She has some great lines. Right.
She did.
Like, oh yeah, I think this might be the first time we're letting off somebody on good behavior.
Right, yeah. And he goes, good behavior, and she's like, call it what you want.
Call it what you want. Oh, by the way, it's gonna be $1,000.
I loved the line that she gives when she first puts the device on Kale, and she's like, it's tamper-proof, it's waterproof, so don't put your leg in a bucket of water and hop across the line because you're just gonna look stupid.
Yep. That was a good line. That was a good line too.
Amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know she was in so many other movies. That's my bad. That's my bad. I don't. I mean, it's debatable. Don't tell my wife. But yeah, so you have Viola Davis, Carrie-Anne Moss, or Moses?
I think it's Moses.
I have Moss in my notes, but I could be wrong too.
It could be. I don't
know. Is there any other pretty big names? Because again, Shia LaBeouf was pretty much the only one I knew, and uh, the love interest of this movie, played by Sarah Romer or Ashley
Yeah,
Carlson, Kale's
yeah,
neighbor.
yeah. I had a huge crush on her when I saw this movie the first time. Um,
Yeah,
I
would that
was,
have anything to do with like the stalker shots?
no, well, I mean, don't get me wrong, she's a gorgeous girl, but
Yes.
she was also like as a like freshman, I think, high school boy. You're talking about this chick is into like gamer stuff. She's in like this is
Video
like the dream
cameras.
girl for every like preteen boy.
She
Like, oh
hangs
my
out
god.
on the roof, reads a
Like,
lot of books.
right. She's smart, she's pretty, she's funny. Like
Triple threat.
triple freaking threat.
But yeah, and then you obviously you have his neighbor.
David Morse.
Whoa, David Morse.
Mr.
Is he in
Turner.
anything else?
He is a guy like I couldn't tell you anything else he's in. Yes, he's in other stuff. I think he's
Mm-hmm.
probably done some TV shows. He's a guy that, especially kind of in that thriller genre, whether you're talking like movie or TV show, he's a guy that's like always around in those genres. So he was
Okay.
somebody that I immediately recognized, but I can't tell, like I can't lie to you and be like, oh, I know him from this, or this is his rundown.
Yeah, so I'm looking at his filmography, and again, he's. We should mention that he plays Robert Turner, Kale's neighbor, who the three teens suspect of being a serial killer.
Bum, bum, bum.
So he's apparently in the Hurt Locker. What was the
Yeah,
other one that I saw? World War Z, or yeah, World War Z. I maybe you've seen that once.
I have seen
Parts of
World War
it.
Z a couple times.
Apparently, he's in that. But it's
There you
interesting
go.
that I thought he did great with the role he had in this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
So I could totally see him being other like bad guys and
Oh
others.
yeah. No, he's always that kind of a character. I have a great fun fact about him, but it's for later.
Okay.
Can't talk about it now.
Well, before we kind of dive more into like your thoughts on the movie and like the things that happen throughout it, I kind of want to go back to what you were saying. You have a history with this movie. You piqued my curiosity, John.
Oh, I don't know that it's going to be anything that's spectacular. But so I have a history with this movie. I remember when it came out, and at that particular time, I was not too different from Kale's situation, and I was not under like house arrest. But at that particular time, I had been like pretty sick or something,
Mhm.
and so I was just kind of stuck at home during the summer. Um, and I remember like this movie kind of freaked me out because like I was that kid. Like I didn't have anything else going on, so I'm like I was always watching my neighbors and like seeing what they were up to, and then like you see this movie and you're like, oh god, like what would I do? So then
All the
like
cops.
you're like you're going back and forth on this, um and this was a movie I remember too. It was one of the first PG-13 horror movies that made me respect that category of movies. Because to that point, like a PG-13 horror movie was always just like a really shitty movie. um
Low production.
Maybe
Yeah.
not even that, like maybe high production, but it was so chopped up because they couldn't do things that are inherent to the genre of horror and
Mhm.
suspense and all of that, that it
Mhm.
was almost just like an unenjoyable, like you knew it was like when your parents would buy you like the off-brand Reese's, and yeah, you could have some fun with it, but you knew them motherfuckers were not real Reese's, but they were like, oh no honey, like they're Reese's, and you're like, no no no
I bought them
no
at
no no.
Costco. They're the same.
Exactly. Not the same at all. So anyway, that's kind of what a PG-13 horror movie was like. You're like,
Mm.
oh, this is definitely not the product. This movie comes out though, and was like, for all intents and purposes, actually a pretty legit film.
Yeah,
with a
it did
story
well.
that is coherent. It does pretty well. And for me personally, this movie kind of came out of nowhere. I actually didn't see it in theaters. I saw it the first time I watched it was on DVD. Somebody had bought it for me. So I'm like sitting at home alone at night, pop this bad boy in because I'm like, PG-13 scary movies aren't ever scary. And not that this one was necessarily scary, but it definitely like it seeped in. And I was like, oh hell no.
Yeah, for me, it didn't really register as a horror movie, but more of a like a psychological thriller for sure. And
Subgenre
just
of horror,
just
yes.
the yeah, just the way that everything kind of played out in the movie. And I don't know, I haven't obviously seen a lot of horror movies, but something that really stood out to me was just the story
Yeah.
and the way that the actors brought it to life.
Oh yeah.
Um, that's not something really typical that I see with like a lot of like the other horror trailers or
Right.
thriller trailers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and then the production quality was there too with this movie.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Uh,
One of the great things about this movie too is it better than a lot of movies that I know of in this genre. It so masterfully sets up suspense.
mm-hmm.
Like there are so many tension-filled scenes that if you've never seen it before, especially, you're like, oh man. And then the way it resolves that is just so well done.
Yep. And then the music was paired perfectly, I thought,
It
with those
was that was an
suspense scenes.
original composition for this movie.
Really,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shows.
Well, I mean, part of it, a lot of people don't realize, and maybe you have this in your notes or something, but a lot of it don't people don't realize that Steven Spielberg was attached to this movie. So
No, really?
yeah, so like yeah, he's gonna bring a little bit of that Steven Spielberg over with him, you know? Um yeah, he was like an executive producer or something on this movie. He's very well connected to this film.
I didn't have that in my notes. That's really
So
interesting.
yeah, so it's like, yeah, of course it's a well done freaking movie.
I wonder
Like
how they pitched that to him. Like, here's this horror movie we're thinking about.
so actually, there's a story
Oh,
behind. Do you not know the story behind this movie?
dude, I knew nothing about this movie. And like honestly, I'm gonna say right now, if you haven't seen Disturbia, you need to stop this show and go watch it and then
Go
come
see it.
back.
It's great.
Yeah. It's well worth it. Like you can rent it for like
A few bucks.
$2.99. Yeah.
Yeah. This movie came
Unless you want
out
to watch it in
2005.
HD. Yeah, I think that's what I have down.
So it's pretty
2007.
old. 2007. So it's a pretty old movie.
April
But
13th.
it's
But
good. Holds up.
I thought it held up really great. It's got like that 90s esque, just like the way the characters are dressed and everything.
Right. But it definitely like
right?
it does it well enough that you're
Oh
like
yeah,
it's not that bad. They also have the only standout of it is they have flip phones.
yeah.
And I'm like,
They
oh
have
God.
really old flip phones, and then like he's piecing together cameras and stuff so he can watch
Right.
what's
All this
going
stuff.
on.
Um
He doesn't know how to fucking work.
But
the
no, so
cameras either.
circling back to this movie and kind of the story behind it. So it is actually a unofficial adaptation of a short story that was made into two other films. Um I can't remember when the original was. I think this maybe the original was in the 50s and the remake was in the 80s. Um Loosely based off of that short story in those movies called Rear Window.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, so this is a slightly tweaked version of it. And when they actually made the script in the 90s, and then it sat there because nobody would touch it for a while, and then finally, like in 2005, they come along and are like, "Hey, we're gonna do this movie." They get it done by 2007. Disturbia actually got sued though by the guy or the estate behind the Rear Window short story
Really?
because he was like they were not crediting him, they weren't paying him his dividends,
Oh yeah, he
so on
didn't
and
get
so
his cut.
forth. Yeah, he didn't get his cut.
Mm-hmm.
Takes it all the way to court.
Creative
Disturbia
license pin.
actually wins because the judge rules that while there are similar plot points, Disturbia features a number of subplots to continually drive and alter the story, whereas the short story featured none of that.
A lot of extra stuff thrown in. Well,
Yeah,
obviously, because you said it was a short story.
yeah.
So
So
make 105-minute
that's the story of
runtime
how
for a
that
movie.
guy did not win.
That's the story of how. Oh man, that sucks. We should get him on the podcast.
Doubt. I'm good. I don't want to bring in the guy that lost the sure thing court case.
Yeah. So
No, I'm
tell
kidding. It
us
was
more
clearly
about
not a sure thing.
tell us more about that. How did it make you feel?
And that's how we never get a guest again. Um,
Yeah.
no, so going back to it though, that's kind of the background of the story. That's how we got to where we are. Shia LaBeouf actually got his role in the movie because he impressed Spielberg on the movie Holes.
Oh my gosh.
Dead
That's
serious.
a throwback.
And then because of this movie, two of the worst things that happened to Shia LaBeouf ever occurred, which was this movie convinced Spielberg to vouch for him that he could do big budget movies. And so that then sparked him into getting cast in the Transformers movies, and then Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal
Oh
Skull.
no. Well, okay. I thought the Transformer movies with Shia LaBeouf were good.
They were serviceable.
Uh,
We can do a whole show on that. Moving on.
But I mean, I guess I had never really critiqued like how Shia LaBeouf was acting in them.
Yeah.
However, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, that was just a movie that didn't happen. That didn't happen. That one's that one's.
Well, it's okay because we're getting Indy 5 coming soon.
Really?
Yeah. That's how they got Harrison Ford to come back for the new Star Wars series. We saw how well that went.
Womp womp.
Anyway, moving right along.
Yeah.
Back to Disturbia.
You know, it's funny, when I watched the trailer for this movie, I was like, man, this thing's got everything. We got a car chase. We got, the decent, actors or good cast, right?
Yeah.
It looks like good music. Production quality of the trailer was good. Looks suspenseful. Like I'm down. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm like, but like when I watched the movie, and I don't know, like if you watched the trailer before you watched this movie again, or if you watched the trailer, you probably didn't watch the trailer before you popped the DVD in back when you were.
Did not.
Did not. But like the movie exceeded my expectations from what I saw in the trailer.
Good.
Obviously, the car chase scene was the beginning of the movie. It wasn't actually a car chase.
No.
It was just the accident that unfortunately led to his father's death in the beginning there.
Right.
After a father-son fishing trip.
Wow.
Sad.
Sad day.
I don't know if that was more sad. I don't know if that was more sad or the fact that Shia LaBeouf just didn't know how to fly fish. I don't know what was more sad.
Yeah, his fly fishing technique was not advisable.
Not that I know anything about fly fishing, but
I've done it once, and let me tell you, that's not how you do it.
That's not. I was just like, why? I thought you needed like let the line sit out there. No.
Oh no, you don't really let the line sit. You sit there and whip that bitch. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. No, you gotta learn to fly fish. We're gonna learn to do that sometime. Anyway, no, I'm really glad to hear that the movie exceeded your expectations, especially after a couple of prior letdowns for you.
From some of the other movies we've watched.
Yeah. And so I'm glad that this movie actually exceeded your expectations. Were there any parts of it that like had you kind of on edge or like anything? Yeah.
No, there were a couple scenes, and like I want to get your overall, opinion of the movie too later. But
yeah.
As it was building suspense, right? Where they had the fun comical stuff in the beginning where he's under house arrest, plays Xbox, watches TV, plays his PlayStation Vita. Remember that?
Yeah,
John?
It would be a PSP, not a Vita, because the Vita didn't come out until after the PS3, which was after 2007.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
But I gotta make a quick comment here. Did we notice? Yeah, Kale has, on top of the egregiously too many posters this boy apparently has up in his room. Kale plays Xbox, has a PSP, and owns iTunes.
Yep.
Which, like, okay, fine. How much did they pay to get those sponsors? Like,
Do you think they paid for the sponsorships?
they had to pay to use the name, like, to so clearly, or like I guess those companies might have paid in, but like, why would those companies give a crap about this movie?
Well, okay, that kind of brings up the interesting question of product placement. Because obviously you make a fair point where there's obviously TV shows you watch out there where like they cover up the Mac logo or they cover up the Dell logo. And is that
I'm
because
fine with like direct product placement, but
right?
this was just weird, eclectic collection of product to throw together.
Yeah, that's fair. And that could maybe they
like
got
nobody does like all three of those, right? Like there's nobody.
It was like all three of those in like 5 minutes too.
Exactly.
So I don't know. Maybe they did get paid for it, but do you actually have to get like the rights?
Yeah, you gotta
like,
have the permissions to like expressly show that stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, I was always curious about
permission, that. But yeah, no, you can't have anything brand name without that brand's permission.
That's super interesting. I'll have to break that down a little bit later, some other episode, because I've always been curious.
Right.
But
anyway, going back to what you were saying, scenes
you had all the funny stuff, and then his neighbor shows up, and he's like, okay, yeah, I got to check out my neighbor because she looks like she's my age, and she's like pretty.
What a G-rated way to walk through what went yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's not exactly how it happened in the movie. But yeah, so then we start watching her, we start watching all the other neighbors because out of boredom, comes
nothing else to do.
Something else, right?
It's reality without the TV.
Right. So, that's all happening. He's kind of clocked his neighbors and everything, and all of their routines and habits. And then he sits down one night to like watch the news because he has to watch TV downstairs because his mom cut the coaxial cable upstairs to his TV, right?
He did not sit down to watch the news. He was sitting there with his mom watching the news. And he went and sat down to watch her.
Well, yes, that's not how it happened. Watch the movie. I'm not here for the whole play-by-play. But yeah, he sees on the news that there's a missing woman and, they found a car or they're on the lookout for, a 87
blue Mustang,
whatever, right? I don't remember the year exactly. Dented front fender. And then lo and behold, he later sees that night, I think, right?
Yeah.
His neighbor, which is played by
David Morse.
So his neighbor, Robert Turner, pull a blue Mustang into his garage, or he leaves, I think, actually. And it has a front fender. And I'm like thinking, why aren't you calling the cops right now?
Right.
Am I wrong to think that?
No. Well,
because maybe they wouldn't have the VIN and maybe he could have a compelling story there. But
right. Like you got to give them enough evidence. No,
right.
Like I get why he didn't.
Well, and then obviously like he isn't on the best of terms with the cop that keeps showing up.
Yeah. To Mr. Gutierrez.
Mr. Gutierrez.
Which quick little side fact about that too. Did you know in the Spanish dubbed versions of this movie, Mr. Gutierrez actually teaches Italian and not Spanish? No idea why they did that, but they were just like, oh, this movie's being done in Spanish. Make him teach Italian now.
That's really odd. Yeah.
He didn't change his name either. So Mr. Gutierrez is teaching Italian, and it's a big plot point.
That's really weird. But yeah, so he ends up Kale, which I keep laughing every time I hear his name because it's spelled exactly the way you think it's spelled, like the green vegetable, kale.
Yep.
Anyway, that's like probably my only gripe about the writing is like, come on, guys, you could have came up with any better. Like, could have called him Shia for all I fucking care, just not Kale. Anyway, he pops his Spanish teacher in the mouth because he said something about his dad, and that's how he ends up.
Mr. Gutierrez earned it, just saying.
Well, no, that was Officer Gutierrez's cousin, right? Or brother?
Yeah.
The Spanish teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's their cousin. They're cousins, and both of them are named Gutierrez.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. That would make sense. over here correcting John for no fucking reason.
Yeah, it happens pretty typically.
Keep it real, John. Keep it real.
Always do.
Anyway, so you have, going back to the suspense building, you have that. Just like, okay, crap, maybe he actually is like the guy. And then I can't remember if that ended up leading to, them kind of like doing the whole stakeout thing, and then they end up following him to the store. And by him, I mean the neighbor,
Mr.
Robert.
Turner.
Mr. Turner, yeah. So him, I should say, Kale, his friend Ronnie, and Ashley, the girlfriend, not girlfriend yet, crush.
The neighbor.
Yeah, the neighbor girl comes over and like helps
Girl
him.
next door.
Yeah, the girl next door. They end up like following him to the store, kind of stalking him. And then it leads to like probably, I think, one of the creepiest suspenseful scenes I have ever seen. And I don't know if, John, you want to lay it out.
Oh, fucking intense.
It was.
So the scene we're talking about here, if you've never seen the movie, is so they've followed Mr. Turner to the store. Well, Ashley has followed Mr. Turner to the store because Ronnie is actually breaking into Mr. Turner's car.
Right.
So they can investigate some stuff. So Ashley is taking photos, whatever. She ends up getting separated. Like Turner notices he's being followed, so he just sets the stuff down and leaves. She ends up getting separated from him. She gets in the car and she's trying to get out of the parking garage, and she goes to round one of the turns, and there is Mr. Turner. And then he walks very slowly over, opens the car door, and then rips the keys out of the car.
Well, no, he doesn't.
He reaches through the car door.
She rolls the window down, and he's like talking softly, and then like
he just jumps into the car and grabs it,
turns the car off, grabs the keys, and then gets in the car.
Into the car and he sits down. And then he just proceeds to speak to her in the most calm and collected, like, I am speaking to a child right now. Like, just very, like, very authoritative, but also you're just like what? And he is just soft. so damn creepy with it. And you're just like, is this dude like gonna slit her throat? Like, is he gonna kidnap her? Like, what are we about to see here? And then, to the movie's credit, he just very calmly is like, so I know you're not the only one watching, and I'm a man that likes my privacy, so could you just pass that along? And then he just gets out. He starts her car, and then he gets out and walks away. And it's like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, and all the while, Ronnie's trying to like break into the car still, and that's all happening, and it was
so tense,
insane.
Well, and you're also like, he's like kind of mapping too, is like, is he gonna like assault this girl?
Yeah. Well, and like, he makes a reference to like, I'm not really into like younger
girls, because he's like, I don't know if this is some hip way to come on to an older man. And then he continues to talk about it. That's like the first thing he says to her when he gets in the car. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
It was awful.
It was intense. Awfully so that was the scene, huh? That was the scene that got you.
I mean, that was one of the scenes that got me. Like, that was like, dang. Because I was like, I'm thinking the same thing. Like, is he gonna kill her right now in the parking lot? Like, is this like? And I'm always kind of like thinking in like when I go into a horror movie, like, is everyone gonna die? Is there gonna be a couple people that die? Is no one gonna die? Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know at this point. Yeah, I think they've already suspected that he's killed a person, and they think they saw.
Yeah, that's why Ronnie's breaking into the car.
Yeah,
so
right.
Go
exactly.
Check the blue bag.
Yep. Right. Yep. But yeah, no, that was one of the. I don't think anything up until then really got me.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, I gotta be honest, and this is kind of like, if you haven't figured out, we're just kind of talking about everything. Also, the movie is 13 years old, so spoilers for our audience, right?
Right.
But later on, after Ronnie realizes that he left his phone in the car, because he's frantically trying to get out of there, because this is all happening.
Yeah.
He figures out, while he was doing that, he figured out the garage code,
Door
receiver
open.
code, right?
Yeah.
So they were able to open up the garage door so Ronnie could go and get his phone, but then also check the blue bag, right? And then they have it all on camera. But when he was doing that, and he's running around, and then that was pretty suspenseful.
Yeah, that was tense. Very tense.
that was tense. But what really got me is when he got chased through the house. And I'm like, okay. And then we don't know if he gets out or not. Yep. The front door is open. And then, obviously Shia LaBeouf's like, fuck it, grabs a bat.
What a homeboy. Like, I want that dude as my friend. Like,
yeah, under house arrest, and he's still coming for your ass, to save your ass.
Coming to bail you out with a metal bat.
It was kind of his fault. He was like, yeah, no, I'll help you get your phone, but I need you to check.
Always got your back. At least you always got your back.
Yeah, for sure. But then we're not sure where he is. And then all of a sudden he goes back to the house, and then
the fucking image of Ronnie, right?
Yeah, he gets the picture of Ronnie in a text message, or the text message says, check your TV screen. And then it's a picture of Ronnie, like all scrunched up or whatever. And it's like, oh, fuck. He got him. He's dead. He's dead in a closet. And then he's like, and he's like, wait a second. And then Kale's like, I think that's my closet. Obviously in his head, he's thinking that's his closet, and he slowly walks over.
It gives away that it's his closet?
No, I didn't see any.
If you look closely, the Twinkie Tower's in there.
No shit, really?
No shit.
Oh, that's amazing. That's hilarious. Where it would be. If they kept that, I bet that prop is still in pristine condition.
Oh, probably. But anyway, so then oh fuck,
he slowly goes over to the closet, and he's like fucking dead. And then it was a prank.
Yeah. What a fucking blue ball, right? But in the best way possible. You're like, oh my God. I thought, you just believed, right? You believed it had to be true.
Yeah. And that's where I have to give this movie so much credit for the story and the writing, because I didn't see that coming.
No, I didn't see that coming, and I've seen a ton of horror movies.
Yeah,
I remember having the exact same thought. Like, I wasn't sure, and then you get the image of Ronnie, and you're like, "Oh fuck, it did happen."
Yep.
And then no, Ronnie's just an asshole, in the best, funniest possible way.
Right. He's like, "Oh man, I just saw the cops coming, and I got out of there, man. I got out of there. It's like I wasn't gonna stay there.
Oh, I did break into this man's house."
Yeah, right. It's like I'm not gonna tell him I broke into his house. But yeah, and what you were saying there, that's not following the classic horror movie storyline, right?
No.
Or the plot.
And that's why I think I love it so much too. Is in a very similar vein to Scream, it knows what the horror movie stereotypes are.
The stereotypes
are gonna fucking play with them. And it does.
Yeah.
Because it spends a significant portion of the film setting up that Mr. Turner is fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really get anything that you're like, look, maybe I'd be kind of pissed, especially now that I'm older. I'd be like, I'd probably be kind of bitchy too if my neighbor was just nonstop fucking spying on me. So you're like the older you get, you're like, man, it really spends a lot of time convincing me that, yeah, Mr. Turner's kind of a dick and he's weird. But I haven't seen him do a goddamn thing wrong.
Right. He's just done suspicious things.
Yeah. But there's always been an answer.
Right. There was always some kind of answer. But
he got the fender fixed quick because of the car show. There was a deer that he'd hit. That's how he dented the fender.
Yep. And then, he was taking care of the deer. So that was the blood splatter on the wall.
Yeah.
In the shop. Right.
What did you think when that blood splatter happened, though? That's the first time the movie's just so blatantly
Yeah, that is true. I didn't really faze me. I was like, okay, so maybe he's a murderer. I don't know.
Yeah.
At one point I was thinking that maybe it was the bunny. He just chopped up the bunny that he caught earlier. And
there we go. There we go.
Sad. But the deer played nice. But what kind of a sick man keeps a dead deer carcass in his garage?
He said he hadn't had time to go get rid of it.
He mows his lawn 3 times a day.
Yeah,
He
that's
had
why
all
he didn't
that
have time to
time.
go
He
get
had
rid
all
of the
that time to go.
deer.
Had all
Got to
that
keep his
time.
lawn in pristine condition,
Yeah,
man. That deer will sit there and rot. It's fine.
the deer's fine. I
Bag
gotta
gets
go
lighter,
buy shovels. I gotta go buy shovels.
which he never bought his shovel, so he probably does.
Right. Which, I mean, going back to the store theme, was that just like all a plot, like a ploy to get them to like follow him? Like, did he
Nah, I
know?
think it was legit, and then he just realized and was like, I need to go.
And then he probably fucked with them more. Like, oh yeah, maybe I'll buy a shovel
Yeah,
because they think
right.
I'm
Maybe.
killing people, which I am.
What did you think when Shia LaBeouf's character went back and like watched the footage and then realized, like, saw what he realized, the seal the deal thing?
Yep, he saw the footage of Ronnie running through the house, and he thought he saw something, right? Because the frame stopped.
Yeah, he was like, "What the fuck was that?"
You know what I think? I think that this is a perfect time for me to go get another drink.
Ooh, I too am out. So
all right,
cheers to
have
that.
to hang on and catch us after the break.
Rum'd Up Reviews.
And we're back.
Hey, real quick, since we didn't do it, what are you drinking?
Man, you and I are on the same page tonight. I was going to ask you the same thing. I'm just sipping on my Bayou rum again tonight.
Ooh,
don't have the bottle.
The Bayou.
Yep, Louisiana.
That's fun. That's fun. I am going with the good old Rum'd Up Reviews Classic. A little bit of Appleton Estate rum. Not mixed with apple juice for the first time in a while. Mixed with Dr. Pepper.
That just rum and Dr. Pepper. I don't know, man.
Oh, it's a nice cherry hint on top of the spices. It's wonderful.
I hope we don't have real rum drinkers out there listening to this podcast, because they're probably...
I drink real rum, therefore I am a real rum drinker. You're talking about bougie rum drinker.
The snobs out there who actually care about...
Well, here's the thing. I don't care, because I'm here to drink rum and talk about movies. So
and speaking of movies, we are talking about Disturbia.
Yes, we are.
Starring Shia LaBeouf. And we left on a little cliffhanger there, John. Why don't you just go ahead and ask the question again? And I'll come back.
I'm sorry, but what a mundane way to bring us back. Like, what are we on, a radio show? We are talking about Disturbia, starring Shia LaBeouf. When we last left off, like, hold on, we've been paused for not long at all for our audience here, hopefully. But I guess for anybody out there that's on a long drive, make it time up with the first half, and then 3 days later when you're driving back, you can listen to the next half and know exactly what we're doing. Anyway, so the question that I had asked was, what did you think when Kale had gone back through the footage and he discovered the dead body on the footage?
Right. Yeah. So when I saw that, my first thoughts were, man, he was just running through the house and somehow he managed to, well, obviously he tripped and fell like on the lamp or something, and the camera landed on the vent grate, right? So
facing the vent grate.
Yep, facing the vent grate.
The vent grate was in the wall.
Yep, exactly. So you were able to catch like a glimpse of something, right?
Right.
And I'm like, no, this is 2007. No, I mean, maybe it was a nice Sony camera, but nah, man, there's no way. And then of course he's bringing it in and doing Photoshop work,
zooming enhance, baby, zooming enhance,
right? I'm like, okay, don't do that classic trope, please don't. And thankfully he didn't like say it out loud, but obviously he was zooming, and it was acceptable, It was. I'm not going to say like that's actually how it would. Like, I don't think you'd actually be able to make out a face at all from that shitty camera quality. But it was vague enough to where I was like, okay, yeah, I can believe it. Yeah, it looks like a face in a plastic bag. But at this point, if you're asking me about my reaction to that, I'm like, okay, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense, right?
Which then, though, it's like, it's so well set up because you're getting that reveal at the same time that his mom is about to leave.
Yep.
And then it's like you get the reveal, and then it immediately is just like, Yeah, so since we just told you, and just goes full out with him.
Yeah. No, and that just goes back to like the story.
So
Uh,
well done.
I was thinking about this a lot, like if the production quality wasn't there, but you know, you maybe had like a decent score and the story was really good and like you had some decent shots in there, it would still be a good movie, you
Oh,
know, even if
100%.
it wasn't there. But, but like you just add on all of those other, you know, aspects and it just really makes it a great film for me.
It does.
Like going back to that car scene, like just the way that they were shooting, you know, from like the different angles, like the back seat to like the front seat, just like kind of all around the car. I
Yeah,
was like, wow. And it just added to the suspense, right?
it did. No, it very much did.
And another, we haven't even talked about this yet, but another scene, and I'm not really sure where it falls in the movie, so you can probably help me on this. But where he shows up in the kitchen the
Kale's
next
house.
day. Yep, in Kale's house the next day.
Yep, that was before they went and followed him to the store and all that.
It was before.
It was because the first time that Mr. Turner like catches on is the night that
Oh my god, it was
the girl at the house.
Yeah.
And then he fakes being the girl, gets in her car and leaves.
Yeah.
Because he's like killing the girl and then he notices Kale watching him. And then
because he like straight up looks across the window. Right.
Straight up
that
looks
was like,
across the window at Kale. And then like a little bit of time passes and then the girl walks out of the house, gets in the car and drives away.
Right. Is that the same time that he also has the flash of the camera too?
Yes.
I don't remember.
That's how Mr. Turner knows he's watching him.
Yeah. It's just like, man, come on.
And then, so then Turner shows up in the house and that was a very intense scene as well.
Yeah. Going back though to when he saw her drive away, which it clearly wasn't. It was Turner in a wig driving the car away.
Right.
Did you believe that? Like maybe
I think
maybe
the
not.
very first time I did, again, because I came in so cold on this movie. Like I hadn't seen a trailer. I didn't talk to anybody about it. So I don't think I would, again, and I at the time had such a low appreciation for a PG-13 thriller or horror movie that I don't think I was going to give it the credit to be smart enough to pull that.
That's true. Yeah, no, when I saw it, I had doubts, but that could have been because I saw the trailer and kind of had like the idea that it was a horror suspense movie, right?
Right.
But yeah, no, the next day when he comes downstairs, some bagels, some groceries on the counter, goes to chop a bagel. Then all of a sudden he's just standing there in his freaking kitchen. Oh,
the most intense part though, like ironically occurs when Kale's mom is like in there and then immediately following, right? Like when she's in and like you get that really tense moment where Mr. Turner just says, fucking goes, so what'd you do? And like, and just to stoke it, like that's a really intense moment. And then when she leaves and he just like very calmly again addresses Kale. And you're like, damn, something's up with this dude.
Right. You're like, he says like, I would have killed my teacher too, right?
There were all kinds of people. So many, there were a lot of teachers that I would have just killed.
Yep. Just blatant, straight face.
Doesn't flinch at all.
Damn.
And you're like, okay, psycho.
Damn. And then attention to
detail. And he knows so much
too.
about knives, right?
Did he mention some stuff about knives? I didn't catch that.
It's when Kale is using the actual like steak or whatever knife.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what difference does it make, Mom? And then Mr. Turner just goes, oh, well, and he like says the price or something. And you're like, what?
I honestly didn't catch that. But what I was going to say, giving credit to the movie again, the knife that Kale used to cut that bagel.
What Mr.
Turner had swiped that knife later on and saved it for a rainy day, we'll just say.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many good things about this movie, and there isn't very many, things that I like could knock it for.
Yeah.
The one thing that bothered me was, and I understand that this was in 2007, so maybe they didn't have the best low light cameras, but I was like,
Right.
damn,
There were
guys,
some
you
of
got your
those, yeah.
freaking lamps on.
Right.
And you're just like spying on people.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely.
He's like ducking down. She can't see me. Can she
She
see
could,
me? I'm
it's
like,
dark in
fuck
here with
yeah, she can see
7
him.
lamps on. Yeah. I'm like, bro.
And at first I was like kind of willing to forget it.
But then it just keeps
forgive.
becoming a thing.
And
Yeah.
more obvious. Like, no, that's a lamp right there. Clearly.
No, it's kind of ridiculous. No, I would agree with that. I think something else about with the way that I had an issue with, and I get it, they didn't have a lot of time to really do much more, and I thought it was effectively done, but I was like, I don't know. Was when Kale and Ashley share their first kiss, and it's after he basically is just like, yeah, no, so I have been stalking your life for the past couple, like since you moved in. And she's like, that's either the creepiest, and she says, or the sweetest, but she's like, that bitch is freaky. That's what we just learned there. We went, oh, she's kinky. Okay.
Yeah.
Because this dude is like, I've been like watching everything you do. And she's like, let's fuck.
Yeah. I have to say, that didn't bother me as much because she very clearly saw him watching, very clearly was okay with it.
Well, yeah.
But I agree. That part was a little corny. But going back to that scene, though, where they're like making out on the bed, and then there was cuts, though. Because if I recall correctly, they were doing that, and then like he's actually like committing murder or something. He was doing something. I forget. Mr. Turner was doing something. They're making out on the bed, and just like
that's the blue bag night.
Yeah. Just that contrast between those two scenes. I was like,
right,
you guys are totally distracted right now, which is fair. But shit's going down over here.
Well, we got to give credit where credit is due. Damn, it's a really good thing that she was there because Kale was in full think with his dick mode because he was not flinching. And she was like, hold up, homeboy. Something's going on over here. Yeah. Proves that even in the most intense of moments, women have a clearer line of thought.
Apparently.
Sexual tension doesn't matter. She snapped right back to it. And Carol was just like, what?
She's like, no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which that was actually another great scene that I like too. Not the making out on the bed scene. But the scene where she's throwing a party, he's all pissed off because he can't go, and she's clearly flirting with other guys. So he goes and grabs. So Kale goes and grabs his iPod and surround sound speaker, sets that baby on the roof, starts playing. It made
me feel like I was back in college.
Yeah. Oh man, it was just hilarious. And then starts playing some. I don't even remember what song it was, but it was slow, and that's eventually how she comes over, and that all happens. But I enjoyed all of that. I thought that was great.
It was well done. It was very well done. Well, let's go ahead and get to it. Let's talk about the ending, I think.
Yep.
So you get the big reveal. Actually, I gotta say this first. A note on David Morse. Like, if you don't give this man does not get enough credit for this role, Mr. Turner. He is so damn good. He is perfect in this role. But a lot of people don't realize just the pure level of freaking dedication.
Oh man.
He in one scene at the end when he's fighting Kale, at one point he slammed his hands so hard into the wall that he broke his fingers to the point that they were like visibly mangled. And everyone's like, oh shit, we need to stop the scene. He's like, no, we need to get the scene right. Let's go again. And like went and kept redoing the scene.
That is
and
intense.
Refused help because he was like, he just didn't feel like the scene worked right. So he wanted the mood. And Shia LaBeouf did an interview where he told that story, and he was like, yeah, so to say the least, I was a little bit intimidated.
Yeah. No wonder Shia LaBeouf disappeared off the face of the earth.
Shia LaBeouf was probably like, hold up, are we sure this dude isn't actually a murderer?
Right? You just, that moment where you're questioning life. just questioning everything.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Dang. Yeah, that's really intimidating. Well, and I don't know how old Shia LaBeouf was when he shot
God, he
this
would have been
movie.
early 20s.
Yeah, well, and I mean, Kale was, played as a 17-year-old boy, right?
Right.
And like I felt like Shia LaBeouf pretty much fit. I mean, this is baby Shia LaBeouf, right?
Yeah,
It's
this is young
yeah.
shit. Yeah, this is real young
Well,
shit.
especially if it was after Holes too.
It was after Holes, but before Transformers.
But yeah, that's crazy. That's like right up there with some of the other stories that I've heard about some of the other actors.
No, insane.
Could you do that? Or do you think you would do that if you were acting?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it would really depend,
Break
right?
your hand, just keep acting through it.
I mean, like I broke a few hands back in my days of being like an athlete and played through it.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I got really mad one night at band, did everything. I got really mad one night at marching band and punched a steel door frame and broke my hand and pushed through. Like, so yeah, if I was that into the role, I would say like I could probably smash my hand up and be like, no, we're gonna keep going. Like,
all right, that's
so I
fair.
got it right.
That's fair. Yeah, going back to the ending though, and this is like my second gripe, with the movie. When so at this point, Kale's realized that Mr. Turner's got his mom locked up in the house, right?
Right.
And he runs over there again to try to save his mom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, geez, I think that was actually after though Mr. Turner came into the house, right? I mean, there's just so much going on in this movie. It's hard to keep it all straight.
Turner came into the house and came after him and Ashley.
Because it was just, we're not holding back anymore. Like, I didn't get my privacy.
He was like, I'm going to fucking solve this problem.
Yep. Just take everybody out. Clocks Ronnie in the back of the head with a bat, which I thought he was gone. Like, I was.
Yeah, no, he probably should be dead.
Oh, yeah. I was like, man.
You got hit with a fucking steel pipe. Nah, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if not, permanent brain damage. Like, you don't come back from that.
Yeah. Just a bruise to the face. It's fine.
Right.
It's fine.
Fucking ridiculous.
But it was when Kale was like starting to figure out that there was shit in the walls and he's like moving furniture and like he moves that, I don't even know what it was. We'll just say dresser or whatever. He moves that off to the side and he's crawling through a vent. I'm thinking to myself, this is the stupidest thing. Why are you trying to like crawl through? You don't even know where he is. He was like right on your ass and you're just spending time. Mom, are you in this bed? Mom, there isn't a murderer behind me. It's fine.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
And you're going to get stabbed.
I would agree with that. I was like sitting there and I was like, oh, okay. Which is such a shame because, and I guess this is also why I'm willing to forgive it. That is the first like stereotypical dumb horror movie protagonist thing that he does in the whole movie.
Yeah.
In the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you're almost willing to forgive it for that, but you're also just like so much more disappointed. You're like, we came so far and you've never done this, and now you're doing the one thing like nobody would ever fucking do.
Right.
Like, no.
Yeah. But that was all like just to end there where, he's finally in the house. He's going through everything, finding all these secret rooms, finding all the tools and the wigs and like the trophies. I would call them the driver's license.
Yeah.
Licenses
Absolutely.
of all the other women he's killed. And now he's seen a couple bodies. That was intense. But it wasn't nearly suspenseful as some of the other scenes because you're here.
You're also like, how are you going to make it more suspenseful?
Right.
You
exactly.
just nailed it, right? Like you don't have to wonder anymore. There's no suspense. You're like, oh yeah, no, we're having the big throwdown.
Now we just see that he's completely made a murder house.
Yeah.
And there's bodies everywhere. And mom is just so far away.
Right.
That was another crazy thing for me. I'm thinking to myself, okay, where is his mom? Where is Carrie Ann Moss? Where is she hiding in this crazy house? Because it was one trapdoor, another trapdoor, and then like a rotting floor that had more bodies.
Yeah.
Pit, right?
No, it was pretty messed up.
Yeah.
And it was very much just like, damn, like how far, what did this man, like, I can't help but like almost make fun of it, even though I clearly very much appreciate this movie, but I just like to think of like Turner knocks her out and then is like a freaking like Mario villain, like, ha! And like runs off through the puzzle, right? Like I did it. Now I gotta take her to the end of the puzzle for him to run through. Like that's almost what it feels like.
Let's go, Mario. You can make it.
It's like Waluigi out there running around with the princess and be like, all right, we got to move her to the end of this puzzle now. Like that's almost what it felt like. And again, I really appreciated the movie and I love it.
Yeah.
But that is one thing that like when you've watched this enough times, you're like, man, that just what?
It's a little ridiculous. Yeah.
I will say though, one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, and it was actually one I had forgotten about until I watched it again for this, was when the cop finally shows up. Officer Martinez shows up and he's like walking through the house, or Gutierrez.
Yeah.
I don't know where I came up with Martinez. Gutierrez. And then like it does the lightning flash thing and shows Mr. Turner like pressed against the wall, waiting on him, and then he just cold-blooded just cracked. Like I thought that was such a well done like horror scene. I was like, yeah.
I thought it was Michael well
Myers.
Done. Yeah, I just thought, come on, man, you would have called for backup. Like when you got to the house and the house was broken in, you were calling that shit in.
No, he wouldn't.
You don't think so?
No, because he's like, oh, it's just Kale again. This time I can probably beat his ass because I actually caught him in the house.
I don't. I'm more cautious, I guess. So I'd be calling that shit in. Plus, I would know I know I'm in a horror movie, right?
Right.
So that was your favorite scene then, huh?
I think it was one of my favorite scenes. I mean, I love the car scene that we talked about, but no, like in terms of it just being like a very like, oh yeah, okay, like we are definitely we're in the final boss fight, right? Like there was just no more like, fuck it, we're gonna strip it all away now, and he's just gonna show you what he is. And I just really appreciated the like he was tactile and made intelligent, like very much. It played on the classic horror cliche of the killer being right around the corner. Type of thing. It also though like it kind of flips the script, right? Like normally in a horror movie the person pressed against the wall like holding their breath is the person trying to get away from whatever's stalking the hallway, so it flips the script in that way. I don't know, I just thought it was a fun little scene to have in there and was just like, okay, yeah, it was a perfect way to just be like, this is who Mr. Turner is, so this is your final. This is the conclusion, right?
Yep, and it was also kind of satisfying too, because I'm sure a lot of people associated Officer Gutierrez as being kind of a big asshole. So,
I'm certain. I'm absolutely certain.
No more Officer Gutierrez.
Right. But so then we end up with the final throwdown. Stab him through, toss him in the pit.
Yeah.
Kind of a disappointing ending, but also like. I just felt like he was going to put up more of a fight,
I mean, he is an old man, John.
Well, I know, but you establish him as this like killing machine. Like he almost is like aspiring to be that like Michael Myers-esque, right? This dude is just a stone-blooded killer that you don't know why he does what he does, but he just does it and he does it well. Right. And he kind of goes down quick.
Well, in that instance, he does get stabbed in the leg, right? Which I would almost argue it was more lifelike in that regard, because he got stabbed in the leg, caught him off guard, and then boom.
Yeah. No, that's right.
Trimming shears straight to the chest.
Straight to the chest. Which was really more like straight to the gut than kind of angles.
Yeah. Either way, I thought the same thing at first too. When I first watched it, I was like, "Oh, okay, we just kind of killed them off pretty quick." But the more I thought about it, the more I was okay with the ending.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, like the reason the ending works is because it is a movie that very clearly establishes that this is just a man, right? Like, so
Right.
yeah, no, it works, and he's
could be your neighbor.
Could be your neighbor. Thought it was mine when I was a kid. I was like, oh shit, they're killing people. No. And so, you know, I think that's one of the things that makes it work. That's one of the other reasons I wanted to pick this one for us, because again, knowing that you're still holding out on me, pushing us into the deep end on horror. One of the things you had said was things that kind of scare you or things that could be real. And this movie, without being too scary, like this movie could legit, I mean, this is real, right? Like this was John Wayne Gacy just retooled, like legitimately. This was Ed Gein. This was, name them, right? Like this is just a dude who lives in a suburb and I was also like killing women and shoving them in the holes in his wall. Like,
well, and creating bigger holes and
hiding other bodies
dungeon.
Crazy.
And like it would actually be interesting to account of how many women he killed or how many women you could see. Yeah.
No, that would be interesting. That'd be really interesting. But
and I have to say, I'm kind of a sucker for happy endings, and it had a pretty happy ending.
Nice happy ending.
And it's not that I'm not necessarily a sucker for happy endings. It's just I enjoy movies in most cases where it has a complete ending and it kind of wraps everything up pretty neatly. It doesn't leave you on like a really crazy cliffhanger where you're like, okay, so we're going to get another movie. And it's like, no, we're not.
Right.
Inception, for instance, that ending, I enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, otherwise besides like the beginning, where, and I had mentioned this to you before we started the show earlier today. I said, well, right away it kind of follows the classic Disney formula where they kill off the parents. But, in this one instance, they just kill off one parent, right? And then shit hits the fan. But it's just really well done,
it is.
Obviously, they've made really great movies over the years. You don't have to just watch a new movie for it to be great.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But this is one that I never heard of, but I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad, man. No, I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. I was really hoping you would. I was like, even if it doesn't have, if he's bold enough, brave enough to get through any of the quote unquote scare stuff without it actually impacting you. I was like, I really thought you would enjoy this film. It's just such a well done movie.
Oh, okay. So now I got to ask, when we said we were going to review The Invisible Man and we watched that movie, were you thinking along the same lines? I'm just curious.
That one I wasn't as sure about.
Okay.
I knew I enjoyed that one, and that was really all I was thinking about with that one. With this one, I was intentionally trying to pick something that I thought would be a soft intro, but because that's why we picked The Invisible Man, right? It was a soft intro into that world of suspense and horror. And so when we kind of struck out with that one, I was like, all right, well, let me intentionally think of a movie that would be a soft intro that I think Dustin would enjoy. And so I thought of this one. So I was right, and I thought you would love the camera work about Invisible Man, and I was obviously right in that. So
yeah, you were right. The production quality of Invisible Man was good. Cinematography and everything, color grading on par. I got to ask John, in this movie Disturbia, which character was your favorite?
Ooh,
you got a lot to choose from.
You do.
You clearly like a lot of them too.
I do. I very clearly do. No, I think my favorite actually would probably be Mr. Turner. Because he just so well like makes you aware again, and maybe this is just me, but like when you watch this movie, like even now, having already seen it before, I just had such a high appreciation for the fact that like he plays the character so well, and that you're like, yeah, he seems weird, he seems creepy, but also like what if Kale's wrong? Like for so much of the movie,
Right.
you're like, because he's not like that over the top. He's not
Yep.
that like he does. Maybe he seems like an older dude who really just wants to be left alone and let to mow his damn yard 20 times a week because
hmm
it can't be any longer than a specific length, right? Like you're like, if he's that particular of a dude, like maybe he is just a little awkward and wants to be left alone. And then when you get the reveal, he still plays like you don't feel like you're getting two different characters, right? Like sometimes whenever movies try to make that switch for you where they're like, oh, it was the kind of reserved dude the whole time. Now he has to do the final fight. You feel like, well, where the hell has this guy been? Like he's never
Right.
been this way. But Mr. Turner felt like the same character, whether it was at the very beginning when he's just mowing his lawn, or whether it's at the very end when he snaps that cop's neck. Like you're like, yeah, no, it makes sense the whole way across. This is the same person, same character the whole way.
Mhm. And he would have gotten away with it all if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
Meddling kids.
2 for 2, Scooby Doo. Yeah, no, that's all. Those are all really great points. I can't help but agree with you because he really did just hold that same character all the way through.
Yeah.
He did a really
Even
good job.
as the character evolves, he does not alter that like persona. His persona remains the same. The information you understand about it changes. So
yeah. No, that's good.
what about you? What was your favorite character?
See, I'm also over here thinking about it, and I'm like, it's hard because like I don't want to be that guy who just says, "Oh, well, I like Shia LaBeouf as Kale,"
He
except
played
for
a
his
good Kale.
name. He did play a good Kale, and like I enjoyed Shia LaBeouf in this movie, and I enjoy Shia LaBeouf in other movies.
I love Shia LaBeouf. I don't know. We've talked about you enjoy Shia LaBeouf in other movies, and we've talked about some other movies he's in, and you're like, I've never heard of these. So I feel like you enjoy Shia LaBeouf in this movie, and in the movie Holes, and in the movie Transformers.
Well, Transformers is not the movie I was thinking of when I said I enjoy Shia LaBeouf. Holes, he was good in that. Eagle Eye, though, is another movie that I really like that he's in.
Interesting.
You've seen that, right?
I have.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't know. I'm kind of curious now if you've seen this. The Greatest Game.
Yeah, greatest game ever played.
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't remember if that was actually the greatest game ever played or if it was just the greatest game. But yeah, no, that was another really great movie. Disney
It
movie.
was.
Another Disney movie.
It was.
Just recently watched that one too. And now I'm curious how early Shia LaBeouf did that movie versus Holes.
He did it after Holes. I want to say he did it between Holes and this movie. Or maybe he did it between this movie and he did it right around the time of this one.
Yeah, it had to have been because he looks about the same age.
Yeah.
From what I remember. But yeah, what other movies is he in that I'm not aware of? I know he's in some other newer ones that I haven't seen yet.
Ones we're gonna do eventually and talk about, I hope. Honey Boy, The Peanut Butter Falcon, The Tax Collector. Those are 3 of his newer ones.
Is one of those where he plays like a vet? Because I thought there was one movie he plays like an army vet or something, but maybe I'm like way off.
Might be The Tax Collector. I have not seen The Tax Collector yet.
Is that anything like The Accountant? Nothing.
No. It is an action movie. Anyway, so
yeah, so I'm just gonna. It's a tie, honestly, on my favorite character between Shia LaBeouf and Aaron Yu. So Cale Brecht or Ronnie. I enjoyed Ronnie.
Ronnie was good. Ronnie's a good time. I think the reason that Ronnie takes kind of a backseat to me is because I've seen Ronnie but done
better.
Yeah, by the same guy.
Yeah.
In Friday the 13th. Like,
yeah.
You unleash Ronnie with an R rating and you get some funny stuff.
You get some better material.
We'll
call it.
Cool, man. Well, I guess, did you have anything else you were wanting to nail down before we wrap up here?
No, I think we can move on unless you have anything else.
Um, well, just a couple of like quick fun facts, I guess. I was gonna throw my fun facts in there. First one, this one was weird as hell to figure out. And I don't know if the website is still live, but it might be. I did not check that. So when they're getting ready to plan their stakeout, or maybe they've planned the stakeout, Ashley pulls up an article about all the dead girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she like shows the guys a picture of one of the girls that they found shoved in the wall.
Right.
That's a real life dead body.
Oh,
Like
really?
real life dead body from a website called rotten.com. Like I said, I did not feel obligated to see if that website still works. But rotten.com is it for anybody that wants to check. And apparently they just went there and they were like, oh, there's a picture of a dead person. Let's use that one.
All right.
So there's a
Back.
fun fact.
I hope that website isn't a thing anymore. I'm sure there's
um,
plenty of crime websites out there, though.
I'm sure. Another thing, since we still can't seem to figure out if how to what her actual last name is, Carrie Ann, who plays Kale's mom.
I think it's Boss.
You could be right. I don't know. I have it as both. She had actually given birth 5 months before starting this filming, so she had like had her second kid, and then 5 months later was making this movie. So just a little fun fact there.
Dang, that's crazy. I hope she got
I
paid
know.
well for that.
I'm
And
sure.
I just looked it up. It's Carrie Ann Moss. And another fun fact, she's a Canadian actress.
Hey, good job, Canada. Um,
Real winner there.
and then my final fun fact: the Kale's house is the same house they used to film the movie Zathura back
No
in
way, really?
2005. Yeah. So,
That was an awful movie if I remember correctly.
oh, it absolutely was.
At
But
least
it's the same house. Fun fact.
huh.
And also, I guess on the topic of the houses, a really interesting fact, because it again gives a good testimony to the editors of this movie. Mr. Turner's house and Kale's house,
Mm-hmm.
they filmed on location for all of them, but they are in two different cities, so they didn't film any of that shit together.
No way.
Yeah, yeah, those two houses are in two very different cities.
Man, I want to go back and like rewatch some of those scenes now.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
so fun facts there. I think
And
that's all my fun facts. So we can.
I was skimming through my notes here, and I remembered one of my other favorite quotes. It was when they were fighting, or Ashley got upset at Kale for ruining her party, so she runs over, grabs his iPod, and was dangling it over the ledge to drop it onto the ground. And he's like, "Don't drop that! That's 60 gigs of my life."
Right.
Man,
Back in
classic
the day.
iPod.
Good old
Yeah,
iPods, right? I
back in
think it's almost a cliche line, but I don't know why. I just really loved Chewy, or not Chewy, Ronnie giving the line, Operation Stupid is now over.
Oh man.
I was like,
Yeah, no, there's just so many good one-liners and scenes, and I actually just remembered the one in the beginning when he was doing laundry and the dishes, and he's like jamming his laundry in there and standing on top of it to
oh
close it,
yeah,
and
just
not giving a
dumping
fuck about
powder
the dish
everywhere.
detergent,
Yeah,
just making more of a mess than he started. It was just,
absolutely.
it was funny. It was a fun,
It's such a well done movie.
thrilling,
It
yeah.
balances real suspense with funny, and has very real and believable characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So with that, John, what would you give it for a rating?
Ooh, I actually have thought a lot about this, and I almost feel bad.
Uh-oh.
I almost feel bad giving it this rating because I feel like I'm setting myself up to have to come back and correct myself later.
Then don't do that. Just find a middle ground.
No, I'm gonna give it this rating, and then
Okay. Do you want me to say
can
mine
bite me.
first? Want me to say
I mean,
mine?
that's up
Or
to
is it going to
you.
change your opinion at
No,
all?
not at all.
Okay. Well, then you
No,
should.
I'm dead set on my rating.
All right. Let's hear it.
You want me to find?
Yep.
8.5.
Okay.
8.5.
You think I can get flack for that?
I think that down the road, I'm gonna have to come back and adjust because I am giving an 8.5 to a movie that is very good, but so early that I'm just like, my scale is gonna change as we continue this show. I know it as I see other movies, and somebody, probably one of our friends even, is gonna go back and be like, well, hold on a minute, like, John, you gave this movie that you just gushed about an 8, but you're telling me it's not better than Disturbia that you gave an 8.5. Like, it's gonna happen, and then I'm gonna have to be like, all right, so way back I gave Disturbia an 8.5, but as I've evolved, this is what it would probably get on my scale today. So
I think for me, and I'm glad you just kind of went down that path, because I was originally thinking about giving it an 8.5 too.
ooh.
But I think I'm going to have to bump it up to a 9. Just because I was thinking about like the criteria, I guess, that I have, and one of them being rewatchability. And this is a movie I would go back to and watch a lot. My wife said that she's watched this movie so many times, and I can believe it. It's just
such a good film,
and it's fun.
And it is a great like Halloween film too, like to watch, spooky movie, quote unquote spooky movie to watch around Halloween.
Yeah.
But for people that don't even love, like whether you love or don't love horror movies, like everyone can enjoy this film.
Yeah, I'll have to add. I don't have like any movies really that I can watch around Halloween, so this is that I enjoy to watch anyway. Right. So this is definitely one that I can throw on the list. Even though I was listening to Christmas music today.
No.
Yeah, man. 4 inches of snow. I know it's only.
I don't care. But it's still October. No.
I figure if the grocery stores and department stores can have Christmas lights up and playing Christmas music, I can play Christmas music.
Two wrongs don't make a right, Dustin. I'm gonna be your mom here for a second. If all the grocery stores were hopping off a bridge, would you jump with them? So
I'd like to see a grocery store jump off a bridge, John.
Well, just you wait. 2020 is not over yet.
Oh,
we got a full moon on Halloween, which falls on Saturday. So,
man, we're gonna see some grocery store sink into a sinkhole or something.
Something. Wait. I'm gonna be like, see. All
right.
So you're giving it a 9.
I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Yep.
Wow.
It's a pretty solid movie. I don't know. I guess I can't give it a perfect score because there's just a few little things in there that I would change.
No, fair enough. Right. I would have to argue with you if you gave it a perfect score. I would have to.
There's some things that I would have to go in and change. So I can't give it a perfect score. I mean, if you were going to change one thing in this movie, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Mm-hmm.
One thing in this movie?
Yep.
I would probably change. I don't know. I think I would change that final fight just a little bit.
Oh yeah,
I would have it be just a little bit more elongated.
Mm-hmm.
You can still finish it the same way, but make it a little bit more of that chase, right?
Yep. Yep, I can see that. I think I'm just gonna have to cut that scene where he's being an idiot.
Oh, crawling into the vent.
Into the vent or whatever, trying to look for his mom. Clearly his mom isn't there.
Super ridiculous.
Yeah. That's one thing that I'm gonna have to cut. But
absolutely. So
well I think that's our show. Yeah.
So
thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it.
Subscribe, follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, but I don't think anything's on our Instagram still. So
some days we're on social media.
So good at social medias.
We'll get there someday.
But tell your friends, and thanks for listening.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.